Welcome to truthmafia.com. We have a special podcast for you guys today. Before I get going, this is brought to you from Body Align, Ultimate Wellness Band 5G Protection, the sponsor of this podcast. There's a link down in the description with promo code Doenut. So that'll get you an extra 20% off. It's an amazing product. Check that out, and we're going to get into it.
March 2023, a group of researchers formed the Truth Mafia, a collective determined to investigate conspiracies and occult mysteries that have been buried for centuries. With a passion for uncovering the truth, they delve into the darkest corners of history, pop culture, and ancient mysteries, seeking answers to questions that have plagued humanity for ages. The Truth Mafia is led by Tommy Truthful, a man shrouded in mystery and intrigue, dedicated to uncovering the hidden truths behind some of the world's most perplexing and enigmatic phenomena. Their research has led them down countless rabbit holes, from deciphering ancient symbols to exploring the hidden meanings behind popular media and literature. Despite the risks and challenges they face, the Truth Mafia remains steadfast in their quest for knowledge. Will their investigations lead to groundbreaking revelations, or will they unravel an even deeper web of secrets and lies? Only time will tell in this ongoing saga of conspiracy and intrigue.
Okay, guys, so we're going to get into this plasma apocalypse. Also, talked about as the rapture in some cultures. And I got special guests today, my partner in crime, brother from another mother, Doenut Factory, with our brother JayDreamerZ. What's up, guys?
Yo, yo.
Hey.
Thank you for having
sweet
us.
intro. I really like that.
Paranoid American made it. Yeah, I like the unsolved mystery dude. He's like our mascot.
That's cool.
Yeah, pretty cool, We wanted to stay away from, at first I had like this mafia dude, and then we wanted to stay kind of away from that because it's the Truth Mafia. So we went with the whole paranoid, the unsolved mystery guy, which, it's pretty cool. It's a AI that does it. So it's pretty phenomenal what artificial intelligence can do these days, Jay.
Yeah, dude, I did a short video where I trained it to do my voice. And the whole video was artificial intelligence, and it was about artificial intelligence, how crazy it got. And at the end, I'm like, by the way, this is not really my voice. This is AI. Everyone was like, what?
Yeah, I have a feeling that the AI is ancient tech, like how they put these dates and alignments up so perfectly. I feel like this tech has been around for a long time. What's your thoughts on that?
Dude, they had remember I was talking earlier about the Enuma Elish story from Babylon and whatnot? A whole huge part of that is them chasing around something called the Tablet of Destiny. Like some powerful tablet that they use to, control the real world or whatever.
Okay, that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, Doenut, think about the Egyptian hieroglyphs and stuff that looks like Segways and laptops and what is that all about? I think there's an artificial intelligence that has been running this realm since we've been born, for sure. I mean, think about it. The 90s, they tell us the internet goes live. Where was the internet created? At CERN, right? By Tim Berners-Lee. So it's created at the internet at CERN. Then they come out with this D-Wave computer. They got that plugged into CERN, the AI. So to me, I think they're feeding some other dimension, maybe the dimension of the archons, or, it's like they're pushing all that energy into there. That's my theory on it anyways.
That's interesting. And if you push the AI stuff and get really philosophical as far as it can go, that's whenever people come face to face with themselves and start asking, like, what's my body really made out of? When we look at things on the molecular level, little tiny machines that are like, constantly building and rebuilding and tearing down and controlling and programming and DNA strands and RNA and stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a big thing, the whole RNA thing. I actually have a theory that's how they block. So I want to read this little thing I wrote real quick. I was doing a blog on this before we brought Jay on about the plasma apocalypse and my theory on it, which going from carbon 12 to carbon 7, and we seen in a lot of superhero movies. I put out a video about it yesterday. It went viral. Shout out to all my people for sharing that. So what I believe is going on with that is let me pull this big up on my screen so I can read better. I'm going blind, guys. Hold on one second. All right. In a world shaken by plasma apocalypse, an extraordinary phenomenon unfolds. The sun emits a mesmerizing frequency, awakening dormant angelic DNA within certain individuals. An ancient consciousness is reinstated. Mankind's true potential begins to bloom. Astonishing scientific research indicates that we merely tap into mere 5% of our 2-strand DNA. Imagine the possibilities with the additional strands awakened. Telekinesis, telepathy, command over elements, all become within reach. This revelation, whispered by the divine, unveils the sun as a celestial portal to higher realms. It's not a malevolent force like so many think, but a life-giving tool wielded by the Creator to reignite consciousness through the celestial melody. But this transformation extends beyond the metaphysical, cleansing your aura, shedding negative energies, and embracing the activation of all 12 DNA strands will unleash your life force, physical abilities, amplify these abilities. So the psychic abilities, telekinesis, control over the elements. And if you're a Christian, God told you this. He said, with the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Now, I think the code red with the graphene in it, everybody knows what that is without me having to get too deep. That blocks this from happening. That's what I truly believe with all my heart. And we're seeing people right now, their whole aura change, they're either their vibration is raising or it's lowering. So, Jay, I've heard you talk so many times, brother, about after these events, there's like these superheroes that go out and they'll kill the phantazoids and these entities in from other realms, so that's what got me thinking on that level.
Yeah, dude, for sure. So, the concept of superheroes, I just did this awesome presentation breaking down the etymology of the word hero, coming from he or chi, or like our chakra energy or whatever, like the ka energy in ancient Egypt, and then the ro, which is actually means the top or the head, basically in ancient picture form. And the concept of having heroes or superheroes, not just people that help out, but people who have superhuman abilities, basically, seems to be interwoven throughout a worldwide collective consciousness that we share, that seeps out and comes out in whenever we are allowed to use our creative minds, whenever we express ourselves creatively through creative mediums like movies and TV and stuff like that, like comic books, like every single comic book. I never really used to be that into comic books, but now that I'm doing, looking into like the truth that is in the movies and fiction and fantasy and stuff, wow, like the comic books are deep, man. Like all the ancient stories, they line it up exactly with all of our ancient history that's been passed down to us in the form of myths and legends. But the reality behind the gaining superpowers, all it takes is a change, a small change in the world, a change in our environment. So, for example, like I believe that in the world we live in, as the pressure builds up and builds up, the buoyancy factor gets lower and lower and lower in the fluid that we walk around in called our atmosphere. So whenever the buoyancy is lower and lower and lower, what we perceive as being gravity gets higher and higher and higher, and things weigh more and more and more. And therefore, your regular person is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, just living, just walking around under all of this pressure in a lessened buoyant field that we walk around in, right? But whenever all of that pressure is released from our world, which I believe also is a natural consequence of the pressure building up, when that pressure releases, buoyancy increases the world across. And so all of us who are the survivors, who have all of these modern day world muscles, right, working out under stressful environments and a lot of pressure and stuff like that. When the pressure is relieved and the buoyancy increases and things basically weigh a lot less, now you have superhuman strength. In comparison to those who were born into that world, they won't. They'll exercise and live their lives under those new conditions. So they'll have a weaker muscles, weaker bones, weaker muscular structure and stuff. We would be like Supermen, at least as far as the super strength portion of it goes. And that's just one
Us that were
implication.
born under this atmosphere, right?
Yeah, under these conditions in the modern world that we live in now, which is why it stands to reason that if there were superheroes that made it through in the legends and the myths, ancient religions and ancient texts and stuff, we see all these examples of the gods or superheroes who came before. That means that the conditions in our world must have changed. They must have been drastically different at some point, right? If that's the cause, we could say. Kind of like that movie John Carter on Mars. Remember that?
Oh yeah, that was phenomenal.
Yeah,
yes,
he didn't have superpowers. He just went from one condition to a different condition. And because everyone else was used to that condition that he went into and he wasn't, he was a superhero.
He could jump high, do all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And guys, this is Jay's website. It's jaydreams.com. All the links are down in the description. He also wrote a phenomenal book that you guys can check out. That link is down below too. It's reasonably priced, Ancient Oblivion. So if you're interested to look more into this topic, and he's coming out with his second book
and there's a free preview there too. See how it says look inside? You can actually read like the first few pages for free, see if you like it.
Oh, that's cool.
All the chapters and everything.
Yeah, I'm telling you guys, it's a great book, and you definitely will enjoy it. I mean, I think he's one of the masters in this subject, and you guys know Brother Doenut. All his links are down below as well, and both Doenut and JayDreamerZ are over here, part of the Truth Mafia. We got multiple channels over here. By next week, guys, we'll have the truthmafia.com. Everybody's videos will just be getting uploaded automatically by my AI. So it's going to be super cool. And I got the gematria calculator over here now. We're adding new things to it. So, the Chaldean is the most purest cipher. And one thing I find, Nephilim 32. Watch this, Jay. Bigfoot 32. I think they're remnants left over from that, and that what they call the plasma apocalypse. What's the abbreviation for it, Jay? The EP.
Some people call it the EMPCOE. EMPCOE.
EMPCOE. So that matches 32, matching Nephilim and Bigfoot.
Nice.
Ain't that kind of crazy? So, and when we had the vapor canopy, there was giants in those days, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's where I was going with it. So
I totally forgot you asked me about the vapor canopy. I totally forgot to talk about it.
My bad. Yeah, no, that's fine. But yeah, we're doing more stuff. This will get updated more and more, guys, and it's powered by my brother Paranoid American, who just opened up Occult Decode. So you can find out banned words, Jay, any banned words that the algorithm has. You can come on here, bro, and figure out what the code words are for them. So ain't that kind of cool?
Yeah, it is. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
I like anything where we start putting our minds together and coming together and working together, Yes, everybody's got something to contribute.
Yes, sir. I agree so much. And and that's what our people, our followers like. They love when we collab. So, that's my whole thing. I mean, I love bringing people together. I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to do. And it's just...
I'm new to this whole plasma. I don't understand it like Tommy does, but the whole superhero thing's interesting. How Superman, you brought up, resembles Mithra in a lot of ways. The coloring of his jacket and all that. So right there, you got ancient gods and religions that a lot of these secret societies still worship, if that's Skull and Bones or whatnot. I believe the Skull and Bones comes from some Mithra stuff. So yeah, I'd like to know more about this plasma apocalypse and what you guys are talking about, because I have no idea, but it seems like that there's an event that happens, and because the conditions of this event that happens, that some people's bodies grow bigger.
Yes.
Okay.
That's just there's lots to it.
The people that are born after it, usually it's not like our bodies grow bigger, we grow stronger. We'll be able to have, like, you'll be able to jump higher, because we were born under this atmosphere with all that alleged gravity, which I think is electromagnetic force, but that's a whole nother thing. But with that energy pushing down on us, so when that is lightened up after the decompressurization, right, Jay?
Well, I mean, there's different factors that contribute to gigantic growth, which is reintroduced after the plasma apocalypse happens. And it's not just humans either. Plants grow to gigantic sizes. Insects definitely grow to gigantic sizes. But there's an abundance of fresh oxygen that's resupplied into the world during this time too, which coincides with modern academics and the different epochs of times past, whenever we had huge gigantic bugs and stuff. And they'll tell you that's because there was so much oxygen in our atmosphere at that time, because the earth releases it every other cycle, every other cycle, the earth releases oxygen. Right now it's charging. So right now everything's being seeped into the earth and it's sort of charging up within the hollow recesses. But one day, all those gases, which I think is already starting to happen, which is helping to increase the pressure in the world exponentially, but all the gases are being released from the earth, from the permafrost that's melting, or just from the inner parts of the earth, or whatever, the gases are being released. And those gases ionize one day, and you have all these huge blue pillars of light that shoot up from the earth itself, terrestrial beams and poles and columns and rods that people will see and be amazed at. After the apocalypse, the wise men travel to the light. They all go to the light, and they establish cities, which the ancient word for that was polis, or the place of the poles, where the poles come up out of the ground, the place where people would go, and that's when they would start their farming and stuff like that. They would gather around the pole. They would gather around an actual pole of light that shoots up out of the ground from the earth itself. And that increased oxygen supply also helps us to grow to bigger sizes. But for us who survive, if we're already past, a certain what do you call it? Like a physical height or whatever, you've already gone through puberty, you're already, your body's already kind of grown up or whatever, then it's likely that we're not going to grow to become huge giants, that we may grow much more. But our children that are born into those conditions, into that healthy environment, everything's cleansed out with plasma cleaning and stuff, and there's more oxygen in the air, and there's less pressure in the atmosphere and whatnot, they start getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until gigantism is the norm. And then the weird thing that they'll talk about, the myths and legends, will be about the little people, or us, little tiny superhero, super strong tiny people. And everyone else will just be giants. That'll just be normal, except for the really big ones who, they would be exceptional too.
Do you think a lot of these giants went underground? Because there's these underground civilizations, and I've heard all kinds of theories on it. What's your theory about that, brother?
Yeah, I do. So I think many of them died during the last apocalyptic cycle. I think we go through two different cycles, one by water, which was the last one, which explains why we still have oceans. And then the next one is by fire, whenever the sun actually heats up and gets hotter and starts burning as it makes its way to the North Pole. And then both of those are depressurization events. But remember how I was talking about how I said that there's those terrestrial beams of ionized gases that shoot up from the earth itself. I hypothesized that those are oxygen, that they're ionized oxygen, right? And so for an entire millennia, imagine oxygen is just shooting up and filling our atmosphere up or whatever. Then the next time we go through a depressurization event, the world depressurizes, and the point where it does opens up a hole in the sky, basically, which allows the ionized hydrogen, which is in our plasmasphere, wrapping around our world, even according to academics. It's no longer being kept out by that electromagnetic force, and that ionized hydrogen comes in and smashes into all the oxygen, and it pours down a flood of water into our world. And so a lot of those giants, they had nowhere to escape. Especially whenever you take into account liquefaction and like worldwide earthquakes that are also said to happen during these apocalyptic times. All that water and all the earth shaking and stuff makes for just mud and quicksand and stuff. So a lot of the giants, the legends indicate that many of them sank down into the earth, and that they just were, sinking down into the mud, and they're huge and gigantic creatures. And so they were sinking. But the other ones either made it by getting to mountaintops, like to the tops of the highest points of the mountains, or just going inside of huge cavernous areas that we still have, but many of those are closed off to the public usually. Like they like to close off a lot of the cave systems and stuff. And it's not just the giant humans, but giant animals too. So like Mammoth Cave in the United States, I think it's called Mammoth Caves because mammoths may have actually emerged out of that particular area after an apocalyptic cycle. And those beings that are said to live down inside of the earth also are said to be gigantic creatures, gigantic humanoids and animals like woolly mammoths and, stuff that people might call dinosaurs and stuff like that too. But yeah, I definitely think that's where they would need to hide, especially if the world is being inundated with electricity from above on a cosmic scale. That electrical charge, depending on if it's a huge one or not, because when plasma comes down from above, cosmic plasma that's wrapped around our world, when it comes down, it branches out, it thins out, and we can see that on a small scale just by examining plasma in our world today, which people do in laboratories, and they study plasma physics. But the plasma branches out and it acts like the Hydra, and the further out the tentacles go, the weaker they are. So they have a different impact and a different effect on life forms. But those big plasma trunks that come down, that like shock major cities and areas that it's really attracted to, because it's electricity, it's trying to ground itself, right? So a lot of metallic areas and stuff like major cities and skyscrapers and freaking giants just walking around are going to be huge targets for this plasma that is attracted to other electrical conduits or devices or whatever. And it has the ability to change the bonds within biological life forms. So this gives rise to many of the giants of old, and the stories about the trolls and ogres and stuff being petrified whenever they see a particular light source. Today we would just say it's the sun because that's the light source we're used to today. But if conditions were different back then, there could be a different light sources that came down, electrically charged these beings, solidified these bonds inside of their bodies, and oftentimes they were actually said to explode, not just turn into statues and freeze, but their gases inside of their body would expand and stuff, and so their bodies would be changed into rock, but the gases inside would blow them apart. So I feel like there's many different examples of these petrified remnants of the old world, not just giants, but technology and all kinds of things that have had, it looks like they've had their chemical bonds changed and petrified.
So wow. when you talk about plasma, I know about the plasma ball. That's what I know about, right?
I can show you some.
Are you talking about up in the sky?
Yeah.
Like the plasma ball, how you put your hand on it.
Same stuff.
It attracts.
Yep.
So so going on top of the mountain, I feel like that would be bad because like you're closer to the plasma now.
Yeah. I mean, it would be good to try to stay safe from the waters and the flooding during the flood cycle, because that's what all the legends indicate, that they all went to the tops of mountains and stuff.
I got you.
But yeah, either way, you try to pick the best option, or the best of all the bad, possibilities or whatever. But yeah, I imagine they would naturally go.
You're saying something about melting into the ground?
Yeah. Liquefaction. So whenever like the ground starts to shake a bunch, the water that's inside of the ground starts to actually rise to the surface, and all the sand and debris and dirt and stuff, they mix down with the water, and it just becomes a swamp basically. And buildings, I mean, this happens now when we have strong enough earthquakes, or you can just actually, you can create little models and fill up a little box with sand, put like a marble or something on top, and if you just shake it like real quick, the marble will sink down. And if you have something else that's already sunken, when you shake it like that, it actually rises up to the top. So during this event and the world starts shaking everywhere, a lot of things that were once buried underneath deserts and stuff like that, they actually rise up to the surface and they're revealed once more. But the things that are on top and heavy, they start sinking down into the earth.
It kind of reminds me of Mario Brothers. Is there a connection to Mario Brothers at all
Yeah.
with the quicksand and also the sun and
all of it, dude? Like the whole Mario Brothers thing, like especially the backstory. You know, the backstory where like they say Koopa came and he petrified the mushroom people. He turned them all into rocks, basically, and they're supposed to be the bricks that's all over the mushroom kingdom or whatever. There's gigantism in the Super Mario Brothers. Rescuing the princess. The princess is symbolic for so I talked about those different terrestrial beams. The larger the cavernous opening in the earth, the taller the terrestrial beams of light will be. And Mount Meru in the middle of the world at the North Pole is said to be, according to the legends, the largest opening in the world, the largest inner earth cavernous system. So you would have this huge beam of light that shoots up. That beam of light is said to bring reason to the world. It's portrayed as like the goddess of wisdom across religions and stuff. But whenever that beam of light goes through another apocalyptic cycle or a polarity shift, it reverses and it recedes back into the earth to charge down into the hollows of the earth. And the princess is seen as being kidnapped or taken into a tall tower or a castle or a dark tower or whatever, you know, which is why Bowser is always kidnapping the princess.
Yeah. And also, I think that Mario looks a lot like Mithra, going back to that when he's wearing the cape in number 3, I believe it is. I think there's a lot of
That's right.
Yeah, I always thought there was something occult about the secret in the underground world of Mario, where you can like rise above the level, and then you run all the way to the end, and then you can go into like the 3 little teleport tubes. It felt so occult to me.
Yeah.
And also like as a little kid, and you find this like a true secret, right? And this is before the internet, so it got like passed around through like the schoolyard, and I don't know, that it just felt so like drowning with like occultism.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially with those tubes. Like those tubes in my plasma apocalypse theory that they go through, they're portals, they're warp zones. And we have these tubes. They actually call them this in modern academics, the plasma that swirls around our world. They're pretending like they just now found out about it, but they call them plasma tubes. And I believe that they're conduits, they're tunnels. And whenever we see like our pop culture and our pop fiction and stuff like that, showing us like these wormholes that Doctor Who goes through, or Sliders, or you know, all these different people when they travel from world to world, it's always through that plasma swirling conduit. You know what I mean? Which is inside of the pipes that go that take you from world to world. And they're not taking you from like state to state within the same, you know, region in the actual physical Mario verse. It says world 2.3 or world 4 or world 5. Like they're different worlds, you know?
Yeah, and this is my brother Paranoid American. He's the one I was telling you that does the artwork and stuff. He made the gematria calculator for us guys. So
nice,
you know, me and him do Conspiracy Cinema Saturday podcast, which I'd love to have you on that one Saturday too, because that's what we do. Like what you do, brother, with your decodes on your movies, which you're phenomenal. I love your movie decodes. You know, that's one of my passions. I love to show the person out there that doesn't have eyes to see, to which is also one of my decoders. Shout out to him. That's his name. But doesn't have eyes to see what they're doing with these movies. The revelation of the method, the predictive programming, a form of lesser magic. I love, you know, bringing that to their attention. So it's just like it's a cool thing to be able to do, you know. Plus, I believe Jay, I believe they're casting spells on people with the movies, bro.
Yeah,
Cinemagicians, as my boy, the one-on-one podcast.
I liked your idiocracy breakdown as well, and I just find Mike Judge being such a fascinating guy, being a rocket scientist but wanting to just make Beavis and Butthead instead.
Yeah,
and I grew up on Beavis and Butthead, and it's sort of like Monty Python, how it's kind of dumbed down, but it's actually really hyper intelligent.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And Beavis and Butthead's home is 322. That's like their address. That's just another
I
thing
know
right
that.
there.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. Well, Doenut, I found something fascinating about the Simpsons. So I've been doing a deep dive into the Simpsons, and in their kitchen, you'll notice it's never changed since the first episode. They have this clock on the wall. Look at the clock, dude. It's the 8-pointed star, the star of Vanana. And they show us all this, predictions that come true in the Simpsons. And me and Jay, right before we went live, I was telling him they came out with this new episode that was like Maggie. It's a 4-minute episode, but I want to show you guys something. At the end of it, there's plasma in it, and Maggie sees multiple suns at the end of it. So it came out on 5/4, May 4th, 5/4 Jesuit order. If you know the movie They Live, which Jay, you broke it down in full detail. In the movie They Live, Channel 54 News was controlled by the aliens sending out the frequency, you know what I'm saying, to keep the masses under a spell of hypnosis. And here's the scene. He's literally that's Jacob Rothschild. That's who that represents, I think. And the plasma's coming out of his fingers. And then you see the 3 suns. It was just a very weird movie for them to put out, 4 minutes long. So I knew there was some coding in it. And I started watching it last night. I did a deep breakdown on it, but
bro, you see those 3 objects in the sky? Sometimes they're shown as moons, sometimes they're shown as suns, but that's in a lot of different movies. And the whole apocalyptic symbolism ties in when they eclipse. When you see those 3 objects, those 3 circles in the sky eclipse, like in Pitch Black or in the Dark Crystal, right? They had the Great Conjunction. Like Stargate had 3 moons. There was these 3 moons right above the pyramid.
Wow, that's when the plasma event happens, when they all 3 eclipse.
Yeah, and not only that, but have you guys ever looked into like the drawings of Nostradamus? How he's got those different enigmatic like napkin drawings or whatever they are.
No, I got to check that out.
Oh man, you got to check it. They're so weird. He has these strange drawings that are totally prophetic in nature, and on them, like it shows a figure who they say is like a self-portrait of Nostradamus, and he's holding up stuff to the reader, like showing you like all this weird stuff that's to happen. And the very last one, he shows he shows this wheel in the sky, like at the very top of the drawings. Oh, dude, if you could show this, that'd be so awesome. But there's this wheel in the sky at the top of all the drawings, and it's got like these different spokes. I think it might even be 8 spokes, like that star we were talking about, right?
Let me see. I'll see if I can pull it up. What's it called?
I don't know. I'd just say I would look for like Nostradamus drawings.
Is this the Wheel of Ezekiel that he was drawing?
It's similar to that.
And okay, I found his drawings, Nostradamus drawings. What should I put? Like wheel in the sky?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them. So let's see. Hold on, let me see.
Doenut's good at finding stuff.
Doenut's straight chilling today.
He's been up for 28 hours straight, dude.
Yeah, I'm probably at 30 hours up right now. No sleep. I've been working on a worm documentary.
Oh yeah, the worms.
And then
Tell Jay about the worms.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, the worms goes deep. It's crazy. I've been covering all the different animals of the Illuminati, like the dolphins being connected with aliens underneath the oceans, cow mutilations, all that. And the worms is super important to the occult, and like the whole idea of Darwinism comes from just occult beliefs. It's not even like his idea. Like he just stole the whole Darwinian thing from occult, and he was studying worms for like 39 years.
Wow.
So there's like all this weird stuff to it, but all these occultists with the larva state, I mean, it goes deep. I had a bunch of people on talking about it. I just edited it, and it was crazy. Oh, this right here. I'm always looking at this wheel. If you look at Time magazine,
what are you talking about, guys? This wheel, Jay?
It looks like that. I don't know if that's one of the Nostradamus ones or not. I'm trying to find
Yeah,
it too.
it come up as Lost Book of Nostradamus or something. But
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
multiple ones down here.
yeah. Watch. There's one that shows like three eclipses basically. But all of those, see
Oh,
how there's a wheel on the top and all those are all
yeah,
Nostradamuses underneath there. Definitely. All those ones that look like that with the ribbon on the top,
they're
and the dude's holding the
Nostradamus.
sword with the ribbon, and there's some celestial signs like the scorpion down there, and there's
Let
the
me go.
Pisces, I think, a fish or whatever that is. Those are
Where's
all
the
Nostradamus. Oh, there it is
wow?
down there. You see that? Okay, look at that bottom one where that crab looking lobster deal is at the bottom, and it's got
Right
that
here.
vector. Yeah, yeah. Click on that one. Check this one out. This is so interesting. These are all, bro.
Wow.
This is insane. So that wheel,
Uranus and Taurus. Is that what it's
uh,
called?
yes,
It's
definitely.
not the three things you were talking about, the three suns.
Those are the three eclipses. Those are and then there's that vector. That's the exact same vector they show you in that movie Cars, like where they chill, all the Pixar cars go or whatever, like in that little hangout Sonic spot or whatever. And then
We use that a lot.
yeah, and then let's see. That's an 8-pointed star, basically, in the middle of that
Yeah.
circle right there. So that's the wheel in the sky. So there's a lot of wheel in the sky symbolism. Journey's song, Wheel in the Sky, obviously, right? That's the opening, the depressurization point. This is Medusa, essentially. This is the mouth of Kronos that opens up and sucks in his
Each his
children
children.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Medusa, where all the plasma snakes or worms. That's the other worm symbolism too.
Good
Is
call. Yeah.
is
Break
on
that
the
down.
on the archaic scale, the quintessential worm is plasma. Like that's the worm of life, basically, is plasma. The worm that can change a person for the better or for the worse, depending on the frequency of the worm. And that's what the dragons used to be called that came up out of that sky wheel, that came down from that sky wheel. They weren't dragons like cartoons, how we see them today, and they have mustaches and feet and arms and stuff like that. They were worms. That's how the
Wow.
Norse depicted the dragons, whereas they were sky worms. They called them that, verm or worm. That's where I think vermin might come from. But the worms from the sky that caught things on fire because they were electrically charged, and they came down, and they were so gigantic that they moved in slow motion to us down here on the smaller scale. And this is also shown to us in video games. Like I played this one with my son. It's a new Zelda game. Breath of the Wild, and there's like another one too. But they have these huge dragons that they're so massive when they're far away up in the sky. They look like they're just undulating in slow motion, but they're worms. The original dragons didn't have feet or anything like that. They were just squiggly lines, and that's how they drew them. But they started personifying them. They would turn them into cartoons and caricatures, and they would give them human attributes, you know what I mean, based on how they moved about, just like we do when we see lights in the sky and people are like, oh, that's a alien craft, it has to be, look how it's moving or whatever. Could be, but the ancients depicted these things as worms in the sky, basically, and these worms could come down and influence people, and they could possess people, which is interesting. They have some knights armor and statues of knights in the old days that have worms coming up out of the night.
Yeah, that's wild. Juan was showing that, and it's crazy. Like the knights were actually worm people.
Yeah, right.
Just there, like you got a little
robots
for your worms video. JayDreamerZ, you could throw him in there too,
bro. Like, so this is also another part of the plasma apocalypse. Okay, is it ties in? It's got so many different. It touches everything. Okay, one of those is the easiest way to think about it is the concept of Skynet as it's shown to us in the Terminator movies. You know how AI and robots and whatever, they come to life. They become sentient all on their own. Imagine a world where the sky opens up and all of that ionized hydrogen is allowed to come down into our world because there is no strong magnetic force to keep it out, comes down into our world to ground itself, and it incorporates itself, especially after it's cut off. Whenever we go through that neutral point and we get past it, the Earth's magnetism picks back up, and that magnetic barrier that's up there, that shield that protects us from plasma, goes back up and traps that same life force, plasma, that's in here already, and it starts looking to possess. It starts looking to be a part of this world and possesses objects and animals and people, but especially those things that it's attracted to and that don't have souls already, like animatronics, or like Disneyland would be a great place for all that plasma to come and make a little home inside all the Pirates of the Caribbean characters or whatever.
It's gonna be like Five Nights at Freddy's, but real, right?
Yes, totally. But
it reanimates the dead too, right, Jay? How does it is plasma some type of a conscious entity, is what I'm wondering.
Well, I'd say yes. For me, that's an easy one, because I think everything is conscious, like on some level.
Like maybe it's part of the creator, the source consciousness. It's his way of factory resetting everything, because when it touches stuff, it's literally reanimating the dead, it reminds me of the rapture.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could totally explain the rapture too. So people getting sucked up into the sky. I have this conversation with my mom a lot, because she tries to throw it in like, I'm going to get raptured soon anyway. I'm like, all right, well, like, how does that happen, Mom? I try to get into the specifics of like what that encompasses. And I'm like, I try to get specific about it, but she doesn't get very specific. She just likes to just, wish away. And that's fine. I love that.
They think, Jesus is coming down on a cloud and going to take them all up. Really, you're probably going to get sucked up through a portal. Now, It might be a good thing at the end. Yes, it might end up somewhere good.
It's all true. I think it's all true. So like, that's something that helped me out on my truth seeking path. Was there was a verse in the Bible back when I was really studying hardcore into the Bible. And this verse said that love believes all things. And I was like, wow. And I started asking people, and they're like, oh, that's not really what it means. It just, it doesn't want you to be gullible or stupid or this or that. And I'm like, okay, but how about if I believe in all things? That, if there's a perceived contradiction in anything, that it's just perceived, that everything is made out of the truth, especially if my concept of what we would call God is all true and all good. And then everything must be all good. Everything must be collectively, truth, basically. So there has to be truth in everything. And that's whenever that really helped me out the most, was seeing that there's truth in everything. So I just go with what resonates, and I pick up on the truth like little breadcrumbs on my way home.
Your description of plasma is new to me. I think it's fascinating, and it reminds me a little bit of this Rosicrucian concept, which is also fairly new to me. But they talk about a silver cord that basically comes down from heaven, or whatever you want to say, like outside the bubble. And as it gets closer and closer to the earth, it keeps like gaining more and more mass and more density. And that the rest of life is just that initial cord or whatever is in that. I'm going to call it plasma, since that's what we're saying. It just like goes back up into the ether at some point. Is that something that you've come across and incorporated?
Yeah, totally. Those would be like the invisible strings or whatever that connect us. So in my concept, when I imagine what people would call the galaxy or the universe or the multiverse or whatever, and I was talking about this earlier about how like DNA to me seems to be on repeat, that it's on a loop, and that like after a while it starts over, and you start getting copies and copies and copies of the same exact person, basically not the same exact experiences. So it makes for a different consciousness, basically, because we acquire knowledge at different levels, and our walks are all independent and different. But that's why so many people like, this gets into deja vu and all kinds of other stuff too, but like that's why people can connect with their other selves out there. Like, have you ever seen Jet Li's The One?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that. Like, I mean, it's in a lot of movies. It's in Jet Li's The One. It's in that new one with that Chinese lady that puts like the little eye right there. I forgot what that was called.
All Things Everywhere. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, same concepts, and it's also actually in a lot of the Marvel stuff too, with the Red Witch or whatever she's called.
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. So she's able to do the same thing too, where she basically reverses her consciousness. Instead of being focused here on the playing field where she is, she travels through that silver cord that you were just talking about and that they reference in Rosicrucianism, and she reverses the energy up through that so that she can waken, because she's ultimately connected to all of the other forms of herself.
Dude, it's crazy you say reverse specifically, because another of the Rosicrucian, I'm going to call it like a cheat code, but they describe this as like a practice you can do at the end of the day. You relive your entire day in reverse by thinking of like the very last thing you did before you got into bed all the way to the beginning. and it does two things. One, it makes you more conscious about what you're doing throughout the day, because you're going to know that you're going to want to remember it later. But the second one, this one blows my mind, and I wonder if it folds into this plasma theory at all. But there's this Rosicrucian concept that after you die, you have to live your entire life in reverse, and that for most people, it takes an entire lifetime to do it in reverse. But if you've trained yourself, you can like knock it down by a third, so that instead of reliving 70 years from back to forward, it just takes you like 20 years or 10 years or something.
Yeah, I've seen that similar concepts repeated in different cultures across history too. But me personally, I like to look at the soul, like whatever fills our body with life. I like to look at that as it goes through processes before it incarnates, and it puts on that last costume. So if we look at our world like a play, right, and our souls are the actual actors, right, before they get onto the stage, which is our world, they had put on their costume, and they put on piece after piece after piece, just like our soul puts on an ego, and then it puts on, like a character, and it puts on all these different like layers to it, like egg-shaped layers that eventually create our aurora, or our auras to our body, or whatever, like that, the clothing to our soul. So it stands to reason that when we die, we go in reverse, and they take off all of those things, starting with
what a great idea
and stuff like that. So would have to pull back the memories, and pull back their egos, and pull back this stuff. And if there's a problem, which I speculate there may be, I feel like the reincarnation process, if that is, what happens, I feel like it goes through kinks when we get closer to the apocalypse, because the world goes into electromagnetic flux, and our souls ultimately are electromagnetic in nature. So people are thrown back much quicker, and their souls don't have time to take off all of those different things. So people come back with memories from past lives, or different effects, with different ways that it affects us.
The zipper got stuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but yeah. If you want me to, I could tell you like my theory on how everyone gets sucked up into the sky during the quote unquote rapture event.
Yes. I definitely want to hear that. And I want to break something down for you, Jay, that I thought was fascinating. I want to share with you, because a lot of people write, like any of the blogs that I've seen people write, it's always off your work. And that's really awesome. I found this page. I think I found this through a link in your video the other day that you just put. You shared a link.
I did.
Okay. Yeah, he's got a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, they got a lot of cool stuff over here. So I blew my mind. That's where I got a lot of the material to write the blog I did on this right here. I got some of his pictures from over there. But what I wanted to point out is, okay, let me get this to go back.
Those blue jets, those are cool.
Yeah, but okay, this is what I want to show you, because so this newspaper clipping right here, Jay, this came out in 1983. They talked about a heavenly body, and it was the first time they're talking about Nibiru, okay? So everybody that writes blogs about the plasma event, they talk about December 21st of 2024. They think that's a date, and we're not setting dates here, just that's a date to look at. Now, what I found very interesting, from the Carrington event until that date is 1,983 months, 1983. And that's the year they first talked about Nibiru for the first time. Okay. In the paper anyways. And now we're starting to see the Aurora Borealis in all the states, and they're acting like it's normal, Jay. But I think it's because we're getting closer to the plasma event. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow or 2024, but I think within the next 10 years, things are really going to change. See, here it is right here. From the Carrington event, Thursday, September 1st of 1859, to but not including Saturday, December 21st. That's 1,983 years, which is when Nibiru was confirmed by BBC, CNN, Popular Science. And they also killed that guy, too. They've killed a lot of people. I found out they've killed multiple people on this research. And I also broke down pole shift and the whole Adam and Eve story for, because I think it's one in the same event. I really do. I don't think it's from Nibiru being on an elliptical orbit, I think that might be the psyops part of it. I think Nibiru is a dimension myself that opens up like throughout the multiverse. But then this guy was dead. They said he shot himself with a shotgun, Jay, and his girlfriend was smothered with a towel. Did you ever see that, bro? Did you know Brian?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't know them personally, but I have spoken with them in the past. You know, we kind of went back and forth because I was already doing my own YouTube subjects and stuff like that. And I really liked eschatology, and I ran into some of Brian's videos, and some of the stuff that he presented was like opening doors in my mind. I'm like, wow, the implications of this are amazing. So, so I started studying, the work that he had put out onto YouTube. And that's whenever I guess they were having a lot of backlash from the, different truther people they didn't really like his attitude, because he had a really bad attitude when he did his videos and talked to people and stuff. It was very, not such a nice dude, but the information was amazing. So I reached out to them a couple times, because they said that they were going to start their own website. And I'm like, hey, like, I just wanted to let you know, like, I'd love to check out your website, but if I do, and I find something that's helpful, I'm going to share it with people. So do you want me to join your website and, collaborate with you guys, or do you want me to do my own thing? And they were like, nah, you should just do your own thing. And
yeah, see, I'm all about collaborating and working together. That's the, but do you think he was killed for his research, or do you think that was something else? What's your opinion on it?
So I mean, like, I have a really good friend that was really getting really close to his girlfriend. And
okay.
So I had like some connections of people that knew them and stuff. And I didn't really talk to them that much, except for occasional emails and stuff. But basically, I have heard a lot of people that are, getting into different theories as to, like, are they really dead or whatever, which makes me sad. It makes me sad just because, like, I know people that know Kim's parents, which is his girlfriend's name. And I feel really bad. They had children and stuff like that. And there's obviously, you got the autopsy report right there, and their dog died and stuff. It sounds to me like basically there was a lover's quarrel and there was issues, and they also were having problems. I heard about people they were meeting through their website, and maybe there was some jealousy going on. And then his girlfriend, it appears like she may have killed herself or something, and took a bunch of pills or something like that. And then he got drunk, super drunk and depressed, and ended up just killing himself too.
Wow. Yeah. So what I see for the autopsy was on March 11th. So the pandemic was declared on 3/11. That's one of their favorite numbers. Portal equals 3/11, and his work was all about that portal symbolism, and if you listen to his work. So I don't know, man.
Right.
It's strange to me, but I don't ever try to disrespect the dead. I put his video there, and I thought it was interesting to look at anyway.
For sure.
I don't know much about his work personally, but yeah, it's very, very interesting. And I see it seems like some people have turned up dead around this. Does that ever scare you at all, bro?
Nah, I'm not afraid.
Me neither.
Like, with dude, the whole 311, the whole 311, the band.
Right.
Yeah. But they were talking about some crazy stuff, like in their music videos, like early transistor, take me like to the mother star. And I have a theory that there was a choice either between 311 or Blink 182, who was going to lead the UFO, because all 311 stuff was all UFO stuff. All their posters have like Illuminati eyes and aliens. But yeah, they were talking about some stuff, just bringing up that number, 311.
And look, Portal is 311. And what are they doing? On 311, the whole pandemic was declared. Well, what are they doing? It's called quantum entanglement. They're opening a portal in your body, and the black goo is a storehouse for some type of archonic consciousness. It allows you to be used as like this meat vessel, this avatar. And I also believe it blocks you from getting any updates from this event. So if you were one that was going to get powers or telekinesis or something like that, it completely blocks you.
Right.
But yeah, I think they're opening a portal in the body. They showed us this with Warcraft. Remember, have you ever watched Warcraft, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay, so remember when he opens the portal with the green fell, and then all of them people are in the cages next to him, and he sucks their energy to open the portal? Something similar to that is what I believe is going on.
Yeah, totally. And also keep in mind, like all of the metals and different things that they're putting in, especially microchips and any kind of robotics and stuff, like getting into like transhumanism and stuff. Keep in mind that Skynet situation that we talked about earlier, like people actually becoming what I call plasma possessed. And that plasma comes in to kill everything off so that to make room for that blue energy to regrow everything. So the people who have weak spirits or people who easily can become possessed and they have their spirit energy amplified, or whatever's already existent within them, their frequency becomes super amplified, and they become what I call plasma possessed. And we see this in the form movies talk about it, songs reference it, like The Doors, Riders on the Storm.
Oh
Right?
yeah, I love
the riders on the storm, the plasma coming in on the world storm, because a world storm is created when the world depressurizes. There's a huge worldwide storm that happens, and there's this part in the song where it says, "There's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad," and it says basically, "Don't give that dude a ride. He'll kill you." You know. And there's a lot of movies starting to pop up about people just losing their minds. You ever see The Cell? Like the world's population, frequency goes out or something, and everyone in the world is justified of all of these murders and killings and stuff in their own heads, and only a few people are like immune to this frequency for some reason. They just see all these wackos, but in their minds they think they're all normal.
Yeah, that movie's crazy. Me and Doenut was talking about that, and then at the end where they're all walking around the
or what, like the animals.
Yeah, just
almost kind of like those animals that walked in circles.
Oh, so the movie with Lloyd Kaufman makes an appearance in it. I don't know if you ever watched The Toxic Avenger, but Lloyd Kaufman's in the beginning of it, running around. So I'm pretty sure he had something to do with the blood and gore in that film.
I love me some Trauma.
Yeah, Trauma was recently banned off of YouTube.
Hell yeah.
For what?
Being trauma.
Yeah, being trauma.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, it's really nuts when you so like that movie Cell. Do you think that could be a symbol of like the plasma event, that frequency coming in and messing with people?
Yes, definitely. And not just that. I mean, it touches on many different things. There's Mount Meru symbolism in there, or Rupus Nigra symbolism as well, being the electromagnetic broadcasting center of the world, which like people may have the ability to manipulate or not manipulate. I don't know. I kind of feel like there's a fight for that particular land and that particular energy, so that people can sort of control the frequency of the tower of the world that manipulates. All the animals flock there right before the apocalypse. They pick up on the signal from Mount Meru. They know exactly where Noah's Ark is. They know exactly where to go. They know where to find Adam, so that they can get their names all over again or whatever. And the people make some people that pick up on that frequency, they make sabbaticals. They make a trip out there, which is the symbolism behind like the Kaaba stone out in in Islam, how they have the Kaaba stone, they have to circle it 7 times. Yeah, in Mecca. Just like how in the Bible, Jericho, they had to circle that city 7 times. There's all this walking around in circles, just like the electromagnetic energy, or just like the great serpent that wraps around the cosmic egg, or all of these different examples of electricity and completing this circuit and going around. So it all depends on us. I mean, what part we play in that, if you become a Sith or a Jedi or whatever, however people want to flavor it or cartoonify it, it all depends on the choices we make now that are building and shaping who we are on the inside electromagnetically, and how we will be influenced or not.
It'll amplify it, right, Jay? If you're
think
good,
so.
it'll amplify that. If you're negative, it'll amplify that.
Yeah.
We got 500 people in here right now. Shout out to everybody. Hit that like button. Make sure you go down in the comments, get Jay's book, support his platform. He has amazing videos on there. All of his links are down below. All donuts. Paranoid American, I'll put your links in after this, brother, because you were kind of a surprise guest on here.
Surprise.
Surprise. I was talking to him before he came on. I was like, hey, bro, if you want to come on, and I always enjoy having him on. So
yeah, is he the one that you recommended for when I was telling you about the collector card idea?
Oh, that's probably me.
Bro, we should bounce that off of him. Like, I think that's a super good idea.
Let's go, dude, man.
He tell him your idea, Jay.
So I had this idea a couple years back that I really wanted to do, but I'm not much of an artist or anything. I wanted to come out with a collector card series of like fringe and alternative truthers, like of all different kinds or whatever, but have it like a collector card. And like, I would have one and everybody would have their own little card, but they're kind of cartoonified, almost like, larger than life or whatever, like Garbage Pail Kids or stuff like that. And we all have like little stats, almost like the X-Men cards used to have, like stats like this.
Yeah, bro, I love that. You're talking my language right now.
Yeah, doesn't that vibe, right? Like people.
I love that, man.
I would,
because everyone wants a business card, but why not have a trading card? And if they all got the same theme, that's dope, man. We're gonna build on that for sure.
Okay,
and actually, that Chosen One comic, that's like the comic book version of that. Because my goal is to eventually get Tommy his own comic book, get Doenut his own comic book. Just everybody gets their own comic book, and then it creates, just like Disney created like this Disney reality. I want to create like our own reality. You know what I mean?
Bro, I definitely would love to see that and be a part of it.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's such a cool thing, us all working together. I love the idea, and I'm always down for that. It can do nothing but benefit us all, bro. It's always beautiful to see when the content creators come together and work together. I hate seeing because a lot of them, they'll do a video and just talk shit about other people. It's not worth it, man. Life is too short for all that. But yeah, he's got some really cool comics over here, bro. He sent me a bunch of them for free. And so like cool. He did my intro, that intro you seen, that was Paranoid American. He's amazing with what he does. Look, he's got the Bohemian Grove sticker, dude.
It's the children's playset. Yeah, I want to make that as an actual playset one day, but
it's really cool though. Adult comic, but that was that chemtrail book I showed you that I said, this would be good.
Oh, the connect the dots. And speaking of chemtrails, I wanted to ask Jay, because I got this theory that chemtrails might in one regard be almost like a Faraday cage for this plasma that you're describing. So that sometimes in cities people report like these grid patterns, and what is a grid pattern but a Faraday cage? So that might be a way to continuously block people from being able to access that.
Wow.
Right. Now also think about this too, right? Let's say that I'm onto something. Let's say that there's some truth to the plasma apocalypse theory, and that one day this heavenly cosmic electricity will descend down from the sky and appear to battle as the beams from the earth shoot up, etc. Also, like before you came on, I was kind of talking about like I have a theory about the deal with the devil and how like different Hollywood insiders and musicians and stuff like that they make this deal with the devil that many people just think is talking about like some satanic pitchfork wielding entity or whatever, but in reality it could be people who are related to those beings that came down a long time ago from their apocalyptic cycle, entered into our world, brought their technology and stuff like that, and then they procreated and they're related to those beings or whatever, or those white devils and fallen angels and whatever people want to call them. Usually, just often a negative connotation from the beings that come down from above, which is the reverse of the beings that come up from inside of the earth, which are usually related to like Native Americans and tribal peoples and stuff like that. But the deal is that they help to disclose. They help to disclose so that they don't get in trouble and say that, oh, well, you took over that world and you never told them what was happening. And they say, yes, we did. We told them every day, all the time, like through music, through media, through entertainment, through trading cards, through, like all of this stuff, all these venues. And the people basically say, I'll do it. And they say, if you do this, you get a ticket. on a rocket ship when it's time to go, because you can't leave yet, right? But when it's time to go, you get a ticket. Or your family or your progeny or whatever, if they're left behind, because I don't believe everybody can just travel the stars, and the ancient myths and legends indicate that not everyone just was allowed. Even if you knew how to get up into the heavens, you weren't allowed there. You had to pass tests, like often it had to do with telepathy or magic or spirit energy, and you had to be proven worthy to get into heaven or whatever, right? So they're out there handing out tickets basically to like free passes to escape the apocalypse and get into heaven or whatever. And this is kind of shown to us in that one movie, Don't Look Up, on Netflix. If you guys saw that,
man, they showed the shit out of us. Yes, I did. I did
yeah.
a decode.
And they all of the elite of the world, they were just getting ready for the apocalypse, and so they could blast off, take off, leave this world behind. They don't have to go through all of our post-apocalyptic garbage and stuff like that.
It didn't work out for him, though, right? In the movie.
Well, the main character got eaten by a Phanazoid, so
yeah. And the only guy that was left was that funny guy, Doenut. What's his name?
Yeah.
The funny kid.
Jonah something.
Yeah. And he's the only one left, and he gets out and he's like trying to post on Twitter or something, and the whole world's gone.
Yeah,
he's like
being all dramatic. All right, guys, I'm the only one. Whatever.
I'm like, damn, dude, that's so realistic how these people act. Because, bro, like when this power grid goes down, people are going to lose their mind. They have been raised on these phones and computers, these black mirrors, which I believe is fallen angelic technology that we've been given. But your theory with that is very interesting, and I think there's a lot to it. And for the flat Earth people out there that's going crazy right now, I'm pretty sure Jay don't look at space the way NASA tells us. It's the heavens above, and the only way you can get there after the plasma punches through the firmament. So you had a theory that the elites will use this whole Project Bluebeam to say they're fighting off aliens, and that's when they will shoot up in their rocket ships to try to escape.
Yeah. Just like has happened before in different accounts of the gods all leaving at one time, and promising to return as well. Like they always promise to come back. They're going to leave the Earth, blast off, or Superman or whoever it may be, always promising like, I'll be back, I'll come back. However, there's a time differential between the heavens out there and an enclosed system that we live in that's becoming pressurized. So we start experiencing time much faster, especially as we start shrinking back down in size and leaving gigantism and stuff behind. Time goes by real quick for us. Our lifespans start to shrink and stuff. Man, I went on a tangent. What'd you just say? I'm sorry.
No, it's awesome. We were talking about after they shoot up in their rocket ships. Where do you think they're going, bro? To one of these other worlds?
Yes. So like I said, like I believe that there's two main cycles. There's the apocalypse by water, where these worlds fill with water and they flood with water. And there's the apocalypse by fire. The fire one's the one that I believe we're going into right now, which is good because this is the quicker one. This is the one that does the least amount of damage. The flood one is much more difficult to survive and lasts a lot longer. It's cold. What's that?
So that's interesting because I thought the fire one was going to be like the movie Knowing, where we just got blazed. You ever see Knowing?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think it's blown up on a large scale in the movie, but I definitely believe I talk about the apocalypse by fire, right? And when I talk about the fire, I'm not talking about the cosmic plasma that comes in and has the potential to electrify or burn stuff. That's a part of it every single time. I'm talking about actual fire from the sun itself, which to me is a point of focus up in the sky, and it's not billions of miles away or whatever, but it's actually nearby. And as it starts to actually, let me back up. So I have more of an ancient cosmology, right? That there is an actual physical firmament over our world, and I believe that it's made out of ice and that it's see-through, or some sort of a substance that is see-through that can allow the light from the plasma above to pass through, but not the plasma itself. And so if that's the case, it acts as a giant optical lens, or a magnifying glass. And the light from the plasma above comes through and it creates a focal point in our sky that we call the sun, which redistributes down into what we call daytime down below. And it's moving about according to the Lorentz forces that act upon the plasma that's outside of our world, as it's all spiraling in one direction, which one day will change and the sun will rise on the other side of the sky and go the other way, because that plasma above will go into flux and it'll change direction. But anyway, so with that, if that's the case, then it stands to reason that the plasma above is fluctuating as it spins, just like the veins in our body, or, you know, different things, different conduits, streams and stuff, how they fluctuate, right? So whenever that plasma above the dome goes into a large flux, that gives us wintertime, because that point of focus goes way far out towards the sides. When the plasma above goes into a small flux, or it constricts or contracts, that gives us summertime in the northern hemisphere, and it gets really hot, basically. But whenever it goes into an extremely large flux during the winter apocalypse, whenever the oceans are introduced, it gets too far out and there is no point to focus, because it disappears way off into the horizon, which is what our ancestors were always afraid of, and why they established holidays around the solstice times, because they tracked the sun to make sure it came back, to make sure it didn't disappear. If they were in the southern hemisphere, they watched it to make sure it came back from the north. If they were in the north, they watched it to make sure it came back from the south, right? But anyway, so whenever it goes into flux and it goes outwards too far, that point of focus eventually disappears, and that's whenever we have 3 days of darkness or whatever. But on the other one that we're going into right now, instead of the plasma fluctuating outwards, it contracts inward, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller until what we call daytime becomes unbearably hot, and it starts to act as a laser and basically a magnifying glass that's burning as the sun. It will transgress the Tropic of Cancer. So that's where it's supposed to stop and come back. But during the summertime apocalypse, it keeps on going, and it actually starts to spiral right towards the North Pole, creating a yellow brick road that you could follow all the way to Oz if you follow the sun or stay behind it and stay out of the daytime and out of the burning light. But the sun just starts to set things on fire as it makes its way to the middle. And right when it gets to the middle, that's when you have a meeting between this blue daylight that we will see, because the blue spectrum is the hottest form of light, right? If you have like a blue light, even they teach us that in academics out there in space, the stars that are blue are the hottest and the stars that are red are the coolest. So when the blue star appears, or the blue star Kachina, and it goes to the plaza or the middle of the world, just like the Hopi talked about, right? It will rest in the place of God or above God's throne, claiming to be God, just like the Bible talks about. And you'll have a meeting between the Antichrist, or the false light, or the light that brings death, which is the blue ray from above, and the blue beam of energy that is its exact opposite, and they clash as this is so exciting. I want it to be a movie in my head right now. But that blue beam of light, terrestrial light, is seen as conquering over the Antichrist beam or light during the summertime apocalypse when they meet, and it conquers over it, and because we actually go through and we complete the electromagnetic shift or the polarity shift, right? So the sun itself actually goes away and disappears, and it's replaced by what people will see in the sky, which is a huge circular red object, which is possibly the depressurization hole that's up there in the atmosphere. And we can see the red ionized hydrogen on the other side of it. And that turns, I mean, I don't want to ramble too much about it, because it's just implication after implication, basically. But
what do you think about, somebody in the comments said that they thought the firmament was like a blue gel? Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah. I used to play around with different substances that the firmament could be made out of. I don't really lean towards it being made out of a gel. There's really interesting stories about Antarctic ice, this blue ice. There's one story in particular about this guy was contracted by the government to go down into Antarctica because of this special set of skills that he had, but more importantly, because of his attitudes and beliefs. He didn't have any kind of, otherworldly fringe beliefs or rebellious attitudes. That was a part of his, according to the story, that was a part of him being hired, like his interview. They didn't really care as much about his experience as they did his belief systems. So he ended up getting hired and going down into Antarctica and working with these scientists and stuff. And one day they needed his help. And it turned, according to the story, he went so far into Antarctica that he ran into this huge wall of like blue ice, really piercing blue ice. And I guess they had been digging into it, and his friends showed him a piece of it before because they brought a piece back, but they could only bring it so far because the second that it gets, the temperature gets to a certain degree, it sublimates and it just disappears. It just vaporizes. You know what I mean? It doesn't melt or anything like that. It doesn't turn into liquid. So they take him out to this wall, and they had dug, you know, a little ways into this ice wall, but it sealed itself back up when they came back out to it. So they had to re-dig out all their equipment because this ice wall fixed itself basically, and the ice like went and sealed itself back up or whatever. But anyway, so that's kind of my theory on what the firmament is made out of, is our gases. And I had an interesting conversation with what's that AI program that a lot of people, Chat GPT?
You know?
Yeah. So I like to teach Chat GPT stuff.
You should talk to my AI, Jay. I'll introduce you. It's
okay.
way smart.
Well, I was trying to get it to basically see the truth that may exist in ancient cosmologies, and I wanted to talk about there being a dome above the world. And it's like, oh yeah, no, actually, you know, and it's just disagreeing on every point. So I'm like, okay, let's speak hypothetically then, you know. And I had this whole conversation with Chat GPT, but basically I asked it,
I got a hack you can use that you can put in it. We've done it on live before. You can put the hack in it, and it goes into conspiracy mode. So
Sweet.
Then it will talk to you about. I'll give it to you after this, brother.
Okay.
I'll email it. Yeah, because then you can talk to it, and it'll talk about Atlantis, Lemuria.
Nice.
I'm kind of like, man, is that the
take off all the safeguards and stuff?
Yeah, it's really cool. So you can have conversation. I see we had a troll. I had to get out of here. He said I was a reptilian in a human suit.
Like yeah. I got videos. I got reptilian fingers.
I got a skin suit on. So, you know, people are out of their freaking mind out here sometimes.
So check this out with the dome, dude. If I asked Chat GPT, what is the upper atmosphere made out of, right? Before you get to space. And it basically said gas. And I said, okay, what's the temperature of space? Like just beyond that, what's the temperature of space? It's all super freezing cold. And I'm like, okay, is the temperature of space lower than the conditions needed to sublimate the gas into ice? And it's like, oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it totally is. Like, so all you need is the gas to get cold enough out there in the far reaches of space or the outer limits or whatever. And it just sublimates. It goes instantaneously from a gas to a solid. So I think it's made out of ice, basically.
Yeah, I think you're right with that, with the front. Now, I had this clip. I put it in the Plasma Apocalypse video that I did yesterday. And I actually found that video from JayDreamerZ. I was watching his new Plasma Apocalypse video, and he put links to this other page, and that's where I found that 5-minute video that I used a clip of in it. And in that video, I put a clip of Hillary Clinton where she's talking about we try to break that unbreakable ceiling, and we couldn't break it, but there's about 18,000 cracks in it. Have you ever heard her say that?
Yeah, she says the highest, hardest glass ceiling, like the old lady, like the highest glass ceiling. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what they're talking about.
When she's not terrorizing children, you know. And I don't know what she does, but she terrorizes the shit out of me in my dreams.
It's not hard to imagine, right?
She doesn't do it personally. She just funds it.
Yeah, she just funds it. You know, did you see the connection with that new movie and Carlos Slim and the Clinton Foundation? Did you watch my video on that, Paranoid American?
Not yet, no.
Yeah, I went viral. I'll have to send it to you after. It was so crazy, bro. I used some clips that Greg Reese did, and he's the only one I can really watch from over there, you know. But he did some crazy research on that, and there's a lot of shady characters involved around that. I think the movie was great, Sound of Freedom, but I think it was a gatekeeper movie. I mean, the dude, the director, he's a registered sex offender. There's all kinds of stuff going on with it that people ain't aware of. He's a Mason. He's got a freaking Masonic tie on in the picture. You know, you can't get no. But did the movie do some good? I would say yes. It brought attention to a subject that I feel very strongly about. And I think did you know that situation with kids, Jay, has now surpassed the drug market and the guns trade?
I only knew that because my mom told me that like 2 days ago when I was talking to my mom, because she's
That's
into
sad.
all that. I think she saw that same movie too. She said it was outselling the new Indiana Jones movie and stuff.
Yeah, you
And they're
should
trying to
check it
keep
out,
it
bro.
suppressed.
Yeah, it's sad. When they're making more money off exploited children than the drug trade and stuff, and people are scared to talk about it, I don't care. You know, if they come in my house, I got a chopper with a 75 round drum on it. So, and I'm 6'3", 300 pounds. They're not gonna suicide me too easily. But you know, if we're not brave enough to stand up for the little ones, then I don't think we deserve to be here anyways, bro. You know what I mean? Like, who could hurt
And and that type of thing's been happening, and I believe that's also been disclosed, like, you know, in the different forms of media. Monsters Inc., that was a great example, and it's a total children's movie of how they use the energy from children and virgins and you know,
Dr.
innocence and
Sleep?
stuff.
Dr. Sleep?
Oh, that's a good one too. Dr. Sleep. Those
Harvesting that loose
vampires.
energy. Yep, they're psychic vampires harvesting loose energy. And remember, in Doctor Sleep, they lived forever because they would feed on the steam that would come off of the children. And then when that dude started dying, the oldest one, she said, "You watched whole kingdoms fall," and he starts shape shifting, like he's shape shifting as he's dying. You see him going into his true form, and
Yep. And that
yeah, it's
was
pretty cool.
Stephen King, and I feel like Stephen King's got the DL on some of this, like probably even more than the Simpsons writers, because
Oh
also
yeah,
in the movie It, he referred, the clown is referring in the movie It to the chemicals of fear, and that he would tap into their glands, and that he referred to fear as the salting of meat. So when he wanted to like scare these
Wow.
kids, that's like that. I mean, and we're talking about the same thing. Steam is in one book, and then the salting of meats in another book. We're talking about the same concept in just a few different
and the code
perspectives.
word for it is fear oxide, and
No,
you'll find that.
thrill oxide. Yeah.
Oh, thrill oxide. You'll find that on occultdecode.com, so you don't get in trouble by the algorithm. But yeah, and maybe these entities that they're working with, these interdimensional entities, these archonic entities, have to do with them phantazoids or something. Something they're working with that is feeding off of that vibration, Jay. What do you think about that?
I totally agree with that. Like I said, I feel like there's the classic battle. I feel like there's a lot of truth between, you know, all these different religions that have popped up, and they present concepts of good and evil, and good versus evil, or giving versus taking, and positive versus negative, and polarity and stuff. It's just that I feel like a lot of the religions have been hijacked by what we would call evil and like manipulated and stuff. But in the addition to them showing us the problem, I feel like it's also shown the solution. Like, so for example, in Monsters Inc., they focused on all the kids screaming and being scared and, you know, being terrified. But they also said what's more powerful than that was them laughing and them smiling and them and the chemicals that are released, and how it empowers us, just like is the same thing in the Pennywise, when they fought Pennywise, right? Like you're talking about Stephen King. They 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 saw him as not, they're not being afraid of him, you know, like they laughed, they saw him as a clown and they laughed at the clown. Or uh what is that, Harry Potter, when they cast a ridiculous spell, you know what I mean? Like they're laughing instead of developing all of this fear and living out of fear. It's that concept of living out of fear is that was talked about, man, in a couple of really good truther books that I read when I was younger. um Man, I can't remember the author's name right now, but I think it was Carlos Castaneda. And when he was talking with Don Juan, there was this Mexican shaman named Don Juan, and he was talking to him. He was talking to his disciple about how a long time ago there was this ancient war between wizards and sorcerers, basically, and that the sorcerers came down, and they were like what people would call like the reptilians, or, you know, this negatively charged race or whatever. And they had this diabolical weapon that they used, which was to put a piece of them into us. So changing our ways that we thought and changing our experiences and how our body produces these different chemicals so that we scare ourselves and we live in constant fear all of the time, which is why I love doing what I do about the apocalypse, because I'll talk about it all day long with a smile on my face. Like, you know, I tell people so often, because they're like, oh, I don't want that to happen. Oh, how could you want that? That's so terrible. All of those deaths and stuff. Like, dude, people die every day. Like, by the thousands. They're all dying right now. As we do this live stream, people are dying, okay? It's a natural part of life is death, or what people call death. I don't even believe in death personally, but I believe
somebody do something.
Yeah. So people get really scared because they're not informed. We've stopped talking about this concept of and I'm just taking it back to the plasma apocalypse or cyclical apocalypse. The concept used to be taught to families, to children. It was a part of an upbringing, right? It was something to revere and to respect and to honor, not fear as in to be afraid of it, but fear as in the fear of God that people had, which was more of a respect. It was a knowledge. It was to look at it again, which is what respect literally means. It means to reconsider, right? And not to forget, but to bring these things back to mind so that it dispels all of that darkness, and it dispels and gets rid of all of that ignorance. You know, we illuminate our minds and our beings, and it brings about things that give us courage during those times and help us to feel better about what we're walking into and what we're a part of right now. You know, discovering all of these things can be scary, depressing, bring on anxiety, make people feel like, man, this sucks, like everything's bad. But if you stick in there and you hang in there and you stick with it, then eventually all of these uncoverings are empowering, or they can be, right? If depending on how they change our own path or the path of the individual.
Well, Jay, my people tell me the most thing I get, because I love bringing my people to new people. Like, if I find a subject that fascinates me, I love to find whoever the master is in that, and then, guys, check this dude out. So, I mean, Doenut was to tell you, I've been a huge fan of yours for a long time. Before I even put you on Truth Mafia, I was always talking about you, and I really believed your work because it covered it from more of a perspective with my belief system, like with the firmament. You were the only one I heard doing it at that time. There's more people now, but
yeah, likewise. I've been enjoying all your videos for a long time. So this is just great hearing you speak and all that.
Yeah, it really is.
And I love that upload. You uploaded this video of that guy who was in the Illuminati, and I don't know where that came from, but I mean, it was one of the most fascinating video phone calls that I've ever heard.
I gotta watch that one. Doenut, send me the link if you got it, brother. Because
yeah,
I'll put that deep. Up in Truth Mafia too.
That one's super deep, and that video that touches on the whole mandatory disclosure thing that I sort of referenced, is how these space travelers, or fractalverse travelers is how I call them, or sliders or whatever, like how they have to abide by certain rules and expectations because they don't want repercussions for that, at least energetically. That, you know, there seems to be certain universal laws that definitely apply in our world as well as outside of our world when people leave this world too, which I think is also referenced a lot in music, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. A lot of their music where they talk about he says, how long will I slide or whatever, and the song Snow, and he's talking about like leaving this world and his tracks will be concealed and stuff like that. It's
their logo is the 8-pointed star too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they got a bunch of crazy stuff. The sex magic
who's this, Doenut? Who's this with the logo with the 8-pointed star?
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh wow, he wrote a book about sleeping with a kid though. That dude did. Did you know that?
No.
The lead singer, yeah, Anthony, whatever his name is.
Unfortunately, he did, but you know that's just for a whole nother story.
Dang.
But Jay, well, yeah, and no, I'm surprised the Me Too movement didn't grab a hold of his ass. But you know, the the thing that everybody tells me they love about you is your attitude and your, the way you make people feel you're like, when you're lives, you're very upbeat, you're very nice to your people, you make them feel involved. So
bro, like what's the good news? That's what I like to ask people. We know the bad, I could tell you the bad, I could tell you all kinds of bad news, but what's the good news, man? They're like, people don't share the good side of it. Like, let's hear the bad, but then let's remedy that with figuring out the solution, right? Let's focus on the solution instead of the problems. Let's know the problems so that we're not ignorant and weak and helpless, but let's empower ourselves by doing something about it and knowing, what purpose the bad will serve to benefit us so that we can change the bad and make the world the place that we would like it to be, especially those of us who intend and plan on surviving and starting, procreating in the new world and being forefathers of the future and having books written about us.
I love how you were talking about wanting to laugh instead of being fearful, and I kind of feel like, at least in my limited little bubble on this planet, that's probably the best type of alchemy that any of us can really do, would be to transform someone's fear into them laughing about the same topic without lying to them, without giving them, some BS, but just to give them another perspective to look at. And that's what I love to do in my comics too, is take these like, if you break down Project Monarch, it is the darkest, sickest, most twisted thing in the world. So it takes a very special perspective to look at it and laugh, but not laugh at like the outcome, but laugh at just, and it's not even like a laugh to stop yourself from crying, but it's a laugh of like, look how flawed this existence is. It's almost like a
our
joke.
Last video. Remember, we covered some dark stuff in our last video, but we kept the audience laughing, and I try to always do that, throw comedy in with it, because if you take it too serious, man, it's just like, oh, it's so depressing and it weighs down on you. Me and Doenut talk about that all the time. So you have to make sure you stay upbeat and make sure, like you said, Jay, just try to put some solutions in there as well. I think that's a definitely good formula.
Yeah, and I feel like it changes our chakras, our energy, our chemicals in our body. Everything changes. Like they say, laughter is the best medicine. There's examples like Roger Rabbit. Remember those weasels that were chasing after him? That's how you kill the weasels or the bad guys or whatever. It was like making them laugh. The different examples were people who are plasma possessed, right? Like on all the different movies we've been referencing, they can snap out of it if they think of their happy thought, just like in Peter Pan. Like, you keep that, you start, because people have asked me like, hey, like I feel like I have relatives who are plasma possessed, and they get like a deer in headlights and they get angry and just so overwhelmed with emotion or energy or whatever. Like, how do I snap them out of it? And every time my response is trick them into thinking about their happy thought, like you got to cast the ridiculous spell or whatever. Like, get them to laugh. Damn it! Like, tell a joke.
That's why I think Beavis and Butthead are on some next level brilliance, because they're always laughing, right? So they're consistently healing themselves while everybody's serious and yelling like the principal. But
yeah, they're clowning.
They laugh in the entire time. So think about that energetically, how good that
like
would be for
Doenut. You got me doing it too. Every night when Doenut goes to sleep, he watches The Office so he can laugh. He'll watch. And now I do it with The Simpsons or something like that. I'll tell him a funny movie. I'll be like, "Yo, bro, watch this one." Like the new one with Robert De Niro. What was that one called, Doenut? Did you get a chance to watch it?
I didn't, but that comedian, he's like awesome. What's comedian. I can't pronounce it. The Italian guy.
Yeah. He's hilarious. But that's such a good thing, because all day we're researching very hard topics sometimes, and then at the end of the night you just take that time for yourself. Smoke one, whatever your thing is. Donuts.
Well, what it is, it's like an energetic thing of letting go.
Yes, sir.
So a lot of people can't let go of control, especially in a narcissistic society. It's all about power, a power hungry society. And the thing is that no one has really any power, and that's kind of what gives you power in a sense. It's a paradox, where that's kind of where spirituality or religions come into place in people's belief in their own concept of God, whatever religion you are, and letting go of that. So it goes even more into so many different things, because it's not just a world where there's only happiness. So a lot of feelings are suppressed, whether that's anger or fear or happiness. Happiness is suppressed a lot. And Alexander Lowen talked about it a lot. William Reich did as well, where the trauma gets stored in our emotions, and that gets stored in our body. And I don't know, I'm still learning about it. I'm running on no sleep right now, so if I'm not making any sense,
no, you're doing fine, brother, and I feel so bad.
and I'm chilling with my dad too.
Yeah, shout out to Doenut's dad. It's his birthday today, so
hey, happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Doenut's dad.
Yeah,
Hold
man.
up.
Thank God, Doenut.
Everybody says happy birthday, Doenut's dad. He says thank you.
The Doenut nut.
Yeah, thank God Doenut's dad and his mom made Doenut, or it was definitely a blessing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we out here traveling, and he showed me like where my mom and him went on their first date and all that. So it's been interesting.
That's really cool to be able to go over that with your pops and see all that and see how they met. My dad made me in this guy named Raymond Cool Cat Worley's basement. So I mean, I was made on a couch. That's not very interesting.
This sounds like a homunculus origin story right there, man.
Some type of a homunculus situation. They were over there drinking. My mom was super young at the time. My dad was still a teenager too, but he was older than my mom. Because my mom had me when she was 13, and my pops was like 16. So they shouldn't even been, they created me.
Hey, I think that's amazing, man. That's a miracle. I tell people that I talk to, all of our little lives, no matter how mundane or boring or average they may seem, we bump into other people and we influence their paths, who influence others' paths, who influence our paths, which brought the four of us together today, who are influencing other people's paths, who are watching now and in the future. So celebrate. I'm excited for all of you guys being born.
I gotta ask you, Jay, if you're familiar with NLP at all, because it sounds like a lot of the things you talk about remind me of NLP techniques.
I never heard of it.
It stands for neuro-linguistic programming, which is sort of like this weird business that it's like a set of different practices that you can use. One of them is like reframing, one's anchoring. So like in a good example, as you were talking about, always trying to be positive and finding like the right attitude for stuff. One way is mantras. That's the easiest one, is where you just like say a positive phrase to yourself over and over.
Yes.
But there's also something called reframing. And it reminds me of what you were talking about. And it's usually if you find yourself in a sour attitude, or you're angry, or you're in a mood that you don't want to be in, you imagine that you're watching yourself in a chair being mad. Like you remove your consciousness so that you're now like in the corner of the room, right? So I'm like back there in the corner looking at myself angry. And then it's like you can see how silly it is, and then like laugh at yourself being angry.
Yeah.
And then by the time you even get into that phase, you've already removed your consciousness and like at least your focus from that anger, because you've separated it. And then you can do all kinds of complicated things like playing a certain sound or like pinching yourself on a certain finger to anchor that feeling.
Yeah.
So then the next time you get angry, you can just pinch the end of your finger and it sends you right back there.
Yeah, and those same techniques also, just as in addition to that, doing those types of techniques can also help people to get into lucid dreaming. So if they're interested, like in learning how to actually be aware within the dream, same types of things to be aware within this dream or reality, what we call reality.
Do you do reality checks?
Yeah.
I got an amazing technique for you guys. For the new people out there, how I learned how to do that. And I actually stole this whole thing from a girl on the internet she told me how to do it. Actually, can't remember her name, but she had a YouTube channel, and she would talk about raising your frequencies and stuff like this. And she said, when you want to become aware in your dream, take a rubber band, put it on your wrist, and for a week straight, you'll have your alarm clock go off every hour on the hour. Once that alarm clock goes off, you snap the rubber band 3 times. So now what you're doing is training your subconscious to look down at the rubber band. And when you're dreaming, the rubber band won't be there. So you're now aware that you're dreaming, and you can become a superhero like that, dude.
Yeah,
like
that's just like in Inception.
dude, I'm
Remember
like
that?
The Matrix in my dreams now. I used to try to punch, I couldn't hit no one, and everybody would kill me. I was like,
yeah. Did you ever
You're just
move
like
in
an
slow
action movie.
motion?
dude, now I'm like a freaking superhero.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm vaporizing them with my eyes and shit. I mean, it's real though. I'm not joking.
That's
do
cool.
whatever.
That's an awesome technique, by the way. That's like very advanced and a very smart way of going about it. My version of a reality check that someone taught me is that whenever you've got an item in front of you that you're going to grab, usually it's like a cup of water, or it's if you're like going to a door to like open a door somewhere, that every time you go to do that, imagine your hand going right through it. And that way, at some point when you're in the dream state, you're going to try and like reach right through that cup. And when your hand goes through it, you know that you just, failed the reality check. Therefore, you're in a dream. The rubber band sounds way more practical. That like you'd have to really keep up on that to get into that kind of a mode. Oh, absolutely. I'm sure it does.
You got to stay on top of it. Do it for 7 days straight, and I promise you, it'll happen. And then if you smoke a lot of cannabis and shit, you'll stop dreaming, or you'll stop remembering your dreams anyways. So if you're a heavy smoker, maybe try to take a day or 2 off, and you'll have the most vivid dreams that you've ever freaking had. You're out there where it's legal, Jay. So you're like me. I'm in Ohio. You can go to the dispensary and buy whatever the hell you want, brother. It's awesome.
When you come back from not having had dreams in some time, man, like the dreams, they're catching up. They're playing some catch up in the dream world. So they're usually pretty powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I've had I told my friend this morning when we went for coffee together, and I keep having the same dream, dude, where I'm trapped in this trailer park, and the whole trailer park is trying to kill me. And I'm getting out. They're calling each other on radios. There's a cop cutting the front of and I'm there with the girl. It starts out the same way. I'm in this house. I'm at a party. Everything's going good. And then she goes over and talks to this group of dudes, whispering to them. And next thing I know, the dude walks up to me and stabs me in my side. Every single time I have the same dream. It's so bizarre. But thank God I've been able to at least defend myself better.
Bro, I used to have a dream just like that, haunting me for years and years, and then I took out the guy.
And dude, I was taking out everybody last night. The cop, he had to go. Everyone.
How did you change it? What'd you do different?
Me?
Yeah.
So I had this dream, this guy, constantly ever since a kid, and I tried to attack back, and every time I attacked back, I would wake up, and I just kept on trying to attack back, and this took like 10-15 years.
Wow.
And I like took out this guy, and I never had the dream again. But the thing is I had the same fear, because I was like, I just took out this guy, and now my fear was, oh, I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
So, and it was the same fear. So like, but I never have those dreams ever again. It was weird.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually had similar stuff when I was a kid. I used to have this same dream where I was running track, and this is like before I even ran track or anything, but I was on the track, right? And I'm running in this race, but like I can't go fast. Like I'm pushing against the air, and I'm just going, and everybody else just running normal. And I'm like, damn it. So like I would lose the race every single time. And then one night I was frustrated in my dream. I was tired of like this whole slow motion. So I just decided, like, instead of putting my next foot forward to run, I'm just gonna let myself fall on my face. And as I did that, I instinctively quickly put out my next foot, and I was like, all right. And I just kept on like, pretending like I was just going to let myself fall. But then like I started going faster and faster. And once I did that and mastered it, and I actually won the race or whatever, never had that dream again. ever.
Oh
Ain't that
wow! So
crazy,
it's like,
bro?
yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know. This last night was the first time I ever killed and I actually got out of the trailer park last night and started going down the road. Then I woke up when a car was coming. So I never made it that far before. So that'll be interesting to see if I have
Is
that
there like
dream.
a checkpoint? So when you go back in, you start
Yeah,
like
no, it always starts me back at the damn party. I've had it for the last couple weeks. It's been bizarre. Not every night, but you know what I mean? A couple nights it'll come back. I'm like, not this shit again. But now then I remember too where the people are hiding, dude. Because there was this lady that would jump out and stab me in the neck, and this bitch was crazy. So, so I knew where she was hiding. It was like, you know what it reminded me of, dude? Hills Have Eyes type shit, or The Wrong Turn. I was just in the wrong trailer park, and
Wow.
everybody was involved. The sheriff was their cousin. You know, they all were cousins. Actually, it was it was not good, dude.
Have you ever looked into the Illies, the priesthood of the Illies?
the illies.
Yeah, Jay.
Jay,
Oh,
you've
okay.
asked me this before.
Oh,
Can you
just
spell it?
ILLES. I believe Jordan Maxwell wrote a book on it. And it just goes back to this ancient, like way ancient, like way more ancient than Illuminati, kind of. You know what I mean? My dad just,
Oh,
my
I
dad
mean, just
just.
the word itself. The word itself reminds me of what I call the Elu, or the elven race, basically. Like I've
oh,
done many presentations about the elves and the origin of the elven race, or like the word elf is really just Elu or El, and then with a U, which means of the El, or children of the El, children of the gods, children of the space travelers or aliens or whatever people want to call them. Which alien is definitely related to that too. But the
Yeah,
Elis sounds to me like the suffix, like the root of that would probably be El, or
it
mighty
is.
leader.
Yeah. So like, in this book, it said the Illies like turned into the L to the all to the Lee, the Florida Lease kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But they are like the ancient power structure, and they would set up camp on the top of the hill, and below the hill was the Ville, and that's where the villains were. It was just
Oh,
it was just
nice. Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
was just interesting wordplay. Uh, like allies, if you were their allies, like the Lees is in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but okay, the
so
Elu. Okay,
what about the machine elves, like in the DMT realm? And when we're dreaming, our body's releasing DMT. Moses talking to the burning bush, that was the acacia bush, which
Yeah.
is rich in DMT. So that when you die, your body releases mass amounts of DMT. And they talk about these machine elves. Have you ever heard about that, Jay?
Yeah, I have. I've done really interesting studies. So my favorite thing used to
Talk.
be reading books of, like American average white professor or something that goes down into like tribal nations. So like that one where I was talking about, where the guy has the spirit guide named Don Juan. That's the book's by Carlos Castaneda. It's called A Separate Reality. That one is all about how he wants to know what this is like, that he wants to know that it's not just some traditional hocus pocus, but there's a reality too, or a separate reality to these shamans and witch doctors and sorcerers and whatnot, like using herbs and natural medicines and stuff like that, and what they actually do when they go into the spirit world. So these people, oftentimes they're from colleges and stuff. Colleges used to actually pay for these types of trips so that they could go down and have their representatives do a bunch of drugs with like the shamans and stuff, and they would have them as a spirit guide into the spirit world. So there's two of my favorite books about that, where people, they didn't just see machine elves. That's one aspect of the quote unquote spirit world, right? There's lots of different levels to the spirit world, right? And it coincides with the physical world and stuff like that. But one of my favorite ones was A Separate Reality and the Teachings of Don Juan. And then there was another one, I think it was called The Cosmic Serpent, where this guy went down into South America, and he sat with a bunch of these tribal elders who went and took some bark off the tree, and they made up some ayahuasca and stuff, this drink that he had. And it was so interesting the way that he's describing it, because this is a real account. It's not a story he makes up. He actually went there and it's about him. And he's like, this is what I did.
I've drunk it too, Jay. I've been down there, drunk it. It was crazy. It's way more stronger than DMT, but go ahead. Sorry, brother.
Right. Yeah. So, well, in the Cosmic Serpent, they tell the guy, they warn him ahead of time, we're going to go into the powwow tent together. You know, I'm paraphrasing, but they're like, don't drink any water and don't eat anything for like 24 hours. Better not. So he totally ignores them. He drinks whatever, have some snacks and, you know, drink some stuff, does the ayahuasca, and he just gets super nauseous, super sick. He has to run out of the tent, goes out into the forest or into the jungle, right? Starts puking his guts out. He looks up with tears in his eyes and stuff, and he sees this huge multicolored boa constrictor just kind of floating towards him. And it starts talking to him, and it says, now is no longer the time for throwing up. Now is the time to bang the drum. And he just kind of looks at it and nods, and he's like, okay. And he goes back inside. He sits down and he's trying to be quiet because he's embarrassed that he puked his guts out. And the elders are like, did you see the rainbow boa? And he's like, yeah. And they're like, did he tell you it's time to bang the drum? And he's like, yeah, let's do this. Like, he was on board, dude. They're telling him exactly what he saw in the spirit world already. It was such an interesting read. I love stuff like that. But people see machine elves and spirit boas, and they have similar experiences too, especially when they first do stuff like this and they go into the, I'm just calling it the spirit world, but like oftentimes they're paralyzed at first. They don't know how to even move their bodies. They have to be taught. So that's something I always highly recommend when people do look into this, because I support all of that. Natural drugs, natural plants and stuff that people can use that nature provides. I'm not a big fan of the shortcuts and chopping up the roots and, you know, actual like sorcery, like mixing shortcut drugs and stuff together. But I highly encourage anybody that does look into that to find a spirit guide, or to find you know, a shaman or somebody who has lots of experience and a good energy, so that they can, you know, watch out for you and teach you the ropes, basically, before you just like for example, my son told me, like, out of nowhere, and we're pretty good about talking, but he's like 8 years old, and he's like, you know, I got my allowance at my mom's house. I'm like, what are you gonna get? He's like, I'm gonna get a Ouija board. I was like, what? No. Like, let's talk. Let's have a talk about this right now. Okay. Before you do that, before you even express your interest into that, your uncle is a paranormal investigator, and he is a professional at talking with ghosts in the spirit world and stuff. If you really want a Ouija board, you need to go talk to your uncle and me, and we're all going to sit down and we will teach you about the spirit world. And then you can decide if that's something that you want to pursue or not, but don't go out and just get a Ouija board.
Right. Yeah. My mom and my sisters, they played with one once, and dude, I'm telling you, they had the worst experience, bro. I said, I told y'all not to play with it. I left the house when they did it. You know, I had a bad experience with a phone app one, and where I was trying to contact this Kanika Jenkins girl that was at the Crown Plaza that I was doing a podcast on her. This is when I was Illuminati Media way back in the day. And bro, the damn app said a name of someone that died in my life, and it scared the shit out of me, and I never ever touched that thing again. I'm like, whoa, how did it know that? I stopped the podcast right there. But let me touch on this real fast. Elves. So look, we got elves, which equals 72. That reminds me of the 72 demons of the Ars Goethe that's, you know, Solomon controlled, that were depicted sometimes as these elves. Now, what do you think with the elves? Are they good? Are they bad? And just a little bit on that number 72. It's a really big number in numerology, Jay. It represents the number of the earth. There's 72 names of God, 72 demons in the Ars Goethe. The average human lifespan is 72 years. The average human heartbeat is 72 beats a minute. And then look, we have it breaking down to 23. Now that's interesting because elves is 23 in Sepentry. So the two numbers, it just blows my mind. What do you think these elves are? Are they good? Are they bad?
Right. Well, I mean, they might be having the same conversation about humans right now. You know,
Right.
like I always
Yeah.
wonder, like, imagine the
You-
Bigfoot, or it could be any type of creatures. Like, we always wonder, like, are they all good? Are they all bad? Like, I think we're really
Probably
quick
not
to,
like that.
to lump them all together like that. I find that there's balance in nature. I mean, if there is an abundance of evil, like I feel like there's an abundance of negative energy in the world today, there's always a remnant of good, and when the poles, and then we go through a neutral point, and then when the poles or the polarity shifts and it flies around, you have an abundance or an overabundance of good with a remnant of evil. So, I'm not sure. It probably all depends on where they are and what energy they're already around and experiencing. I think there's good and neutral and bad to all things, and the neutral usually is the fewest pocket. But I think that like, I did a video a long time ago. It wasn't super popular, but I put forth the idea that there's two Illuminati, that there's the ones that
Oh,
people like
I
to
like that.
blame. There's the Illuminati that people like to cast blame and say, oh, they're all Satan worshipers, they're all evil, they're all this, they're all that. And those are the ones that you know about. But I put forth the idea that there are the secret Illuminati that you don't know about, that are here to help, that are the illuminated ones that are trying to share information with people, but they don't force it upon people. They're not trying to change anyone. They're just offering themselves as guides, and they're giving subtle hints and suggestions and stuff.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Benjamin Fulford?
No.
He's like a conspiracy theorist. I think he's like a financial blogger out of Japan, but he's got a crazy story where he says that his great grandpa or something was friends with one of the old Rockefellers and that they knew Tesla. It's like this whole thing. But he claims that in Japan there is an anti-Illuminati called the Society of the White Dragon, and that they are like the good version of the Illuminati that's always fighting,
Yeah.
the actual bad, I guess, whatever the modern day version of the Bavarian Illuminati might be. I always
Right.
thought that was fascinating.
Hey, and I always like to look at numbers. So, like, I think I was born to do this, dude. Like my numerology. Okay, for example, plasma apocalypse, which is one of my favorite subjects to look into. Tommy Truthful equals 58, matching plasma apocalypse. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
58.
wow.
And then check this out, bro. I never knew this when I started Truth Mafia. Truth Mafia in ordinal equals 117. Well, that's my birthday, Jay, January 17th.
Nice. Wow.
It's
Hey,
just you have
can
you
you
ever
do mine?
watched Logan? What's that, brother?
Could you put in JayDreamer? Someone told me mine is 33, but I never looked it up.
Oh no, it is. I've already decoded, but that's not bad. That's
Oh
not
yeah,
bad.
totally
See,
it is.
okay, so
That's
some
funny.
people think that's always bad. It represents your inner Christ, your inner Christos, releasing your kundalini up to 33 vertebrae that connects to the pineal gland. Okay, so but the some people use it for bad. There's only and damn, you got that 171, which is very similar to 117. It's just in a different number sequence. And you also have that 126. I found that very interesting. You know why, Jay?
Why?
That's what. Okay, so this whole thing with Corona is a drill to see how we would respond before this whole plasma event happens. And what popped it all off? January 26th, when Kobe Bryant died, and they buried him in Corona del Mar. So that 126 code is heavily connected to the plasma apocalypse and your
Wow.
name. Very,
Wow.
very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. You're 33 in Chaldean. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. People don't
Okay.
even know how to decode numerology, and they just say some stupid shit. This is the most important cipher. It's one of the only ones I use. And my boy, Logan, if you know who Logan is from Decode Your Reality, he really breaks it down good, Jay. You should check
Yeah,
out
it
some
sounds
of his.
familiar.
Yeah, he's I got to interview me, him, and Doenut, and he's coming on Doenut on the 19th of August, brother. I got him locked in.
Sweet.
So
Oh, okay. No, August 19th. I think that's the Helical Rising. Let me check.
yeah, he said something about an event. So that whole August thing. Well, helical rising. Remember that started. Okay, so I think it starts at the end of July, right? And then it goes through August 11th, August 10th, and HARP was patented on 8/11. So, that's very interesting too, that they use that data, patent this weather technology that's may probably fallen angelic technology. Gee, I got the patent on here, which I've moved most of my stuff from TommyTruthful.com, guys, over to TruthMafia.com. Everything will be on Truth Mafia except for what I got over here on Truthful TV. Like, you can come over here, get your decode. You can do the email numerology astrology reading, or you can join the lifetime diamond membership, will get you full access to all the groups. And like when me and Doenut do our private members only video, he puts it on his Patreon, which that link is in the description. I put it over here on my website. And we just got we set up our own little social media platform over here, Jay, where we can share information with each other. It's kind of laid out like Facebook a little bit, but without the censorship. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
So you can talk to your fans, you can share info with them. I put your calculator over here too that you made for me. But the other day I noticed they were taking likes off somehow, and I don't know how they did that. So if anybody else noticed that, I'm sorry, I'm working on it. But you see how these people have different badges? So like Aaron, for example, he's got a level 1. He just started. First you get freshly red pilled, then you get level 1, level 2, level 3. So it makes it interactive for him, Jay. You can follow him, if you want to follow him, or you like someone else's work, you can follow them. Yeah, it's pretty cool, brother.
Sweet. Nice.
Really, like yeah, really cool way to stay in contact with your fans. And this one's free. We got 2 of the biggest groups. I call it Truth Book. I try to buy that, truthbook.com. Son of a bitch, someone bought it. Remember Paranoid American? Was that me?
We looked into it, and it's like a weird religious cult or something that's been around for a while.
It is very bizarre.
Like a quasi-Christian thing.
Truthbook.com.
Yeah.
It's so, because I'm going to try to reach out to them and buy this damn thing.
I don't know if they'd sell it, man. They seem pretty invested in this thing.
It's the Urantria book.
So, you know about this?
Oh yeah.
They try to. Yeah, someone gave me I was doing video production, and someone gave me I was talking about UFOs like at 2011, and someone's like, here's the Urantria book. And the guy was super weird.
That's an interesting read, though. I liked it.
I never read it, but I have it.
What's the Cliff Notes?
51, brother. That's that Illuminati day, 5-1. Angel of Death is 51. There's a lot in that 51 cipher connected to our reality in the Matrix. But what is the concept?
You've read this, Jay?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I don't remember a whole bunch of it.
What do you remember?
I remember that there was different themes that kind of resonated with like Scientology and Mormonism, and even like just little subgroups of Christianity and stuff, talking about like the different worlds and like and God, I can't remember a lot of it, but it talked about like the different worlds in the universe and stuff like that. Something really interesting too is like this. I'm going to probably talk about this next week, but there's this interesting backstory to Scientology where they talk about this Xenu god or whatever, and like all this interesting Scientology. I love all these weird, it's not offense to anybody, but I love all the like little offshoot religions that have like these.
Bro, there's a Scientology temple in Arizona where I live. And seriously, the store right next to it is called Sell Your Soul. And it's a shoe store. And then right next to the other side of the Scientology temple, it's where they make all the decisions for all the school districts. It's like all right there. It's crazy. Like Arizona, wherever there's like a sort of like a temple like that, surrounding it, when you look into the symbols, are just weird. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
It says, brother, from the Urantria book, we are guided by the mandate of the super universe rulers, which direct that we shall, in our effort to reveal truth and coordinate essential knowledge, give preference to the highest existing human concepts pertaining to subjects to be presented. So, first thing when I read that, I think of Jupiter ascending in the Brassics family. I don't know why.
Yeah, it does sound just like all that stuff.
Have you ever watched Jupiter Ascending, bro?
I broke that whole movie down like a couple weeks ago.
For real?
Yeah, it was highly requested on my channel, so I did it.
I gotta put that up on Truth Mafia, bro, because I did
pretty
one.
Good.
I gotta show you one I'm
deep,
so
dude.
proud of, bro. I want you to read this blog when you get time, Jay, because if you did Jupiter Descending, then you'll get this blog more than anyone. Hold on, right here it is, the bees. Okay, so about a week or a couple weeks ago, this was a trending story in the world. AI breaks through, could come via the bee brain. And with me, dude, I'm always showing the occult ties to why they picked that article to write. And you know what I'm saying? The symbolism around the bee, which comes from the fleur de lis. And if you remember in Jupiter Ascending, the bees wouldn't sting that Kunis girl because she was from the royal blood. And the Merovingians, they were rumored to be able to talk to the dead, bro. Right. And they were represented by the bee, which goes back to a lot of Egyptian kings and queens and cultures. I mean, this symbolism ties into Mormonism. It ties into so many different secret societies. Yeah. Yes, bro. It's crazy. Look at the Mormonism. They got the bee symbolism all through it. The Merovingian kings that practiced sorcery in the manner they were supposed to be able to like really summons the dead and shit. So the bee represents to me the hive mind of the AI system. That archonic hive mind that they're trying to kind of trap us in.
Yeah, that's interesting because I could see a correlation to in Star Trek they had the Borg, and the Borg went around in that cube or whatever, and they were all about assimilating and stuff. And that the hive mind that they had, and I've seen connections with what how we're talking about, like how my cosmology so far is one of like being a physical sky above us that keeps our world pressurized or whatever from the fractalverse or from space or whatever. The way that space is portrayed esoterically is not emptiness, and is not empty and black and dark, but full like a beehive, and that there are all these plasma tunnels throughout it all over the place. And it's just huge, and that the only space that exists is the space between worlds, these tunnels that people take in order to get from one world to another or whatever. But if we pulled back the sky, it wouldn't be just constant dark emptiness or whatever, but it would be the fullness, and it would be the brightness, and the heavens would be bright like we know that they are. But it looks like a beehive. It's actually portrayed like that in that movie R.I.P.D. Did you ever see that? That dude dies.
Oh yeah. That's the rest in peace. Yes, that's a great one. That shows the plasma apocalypse in it.
Yeah.
I mean, so much coding, which that plasma apocalypse is also in Chaldean, that 60 number, which has to do with the bee symbolism. Who wants the honey? 60. This is my boy, Eyes to See. He did a amazing decode on. I'm not really familiar with this group, Smashing Pumpkins, as much. I knew them a little bit when I was younger, but I wasn't a big fan or nothing. But I listened to their music after it. And Angel 17, which what's that number come out to, guys?
8? I don't know.
Nibiru is 17. And that's where the Watchers are from, the angels, right?
Right, yeah.
That's what they say.
Also that number 60 equates to Anu, which was the sky god.
Yes. And what's it called? The base 60, right? The base 60 was their mathematics system.
Yeah.
Base
they
60.
They had 6 fingers, so that I don't know, maybe they counted on their fingers or whatever.
Well, the Nephilim of the Bible, we're supposed to have that Six Fingers, Truman. Hey, did I see a 22 with Jay's number? Let me see something. I think I got 22. Let me see.
I'm gonna have to bounce pretty soon, just as a heads up, so I can call my.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I'm getting
with
ready
that.
to end this one anyways. I just want to see something with your name real quick. But yeah, Jay, I you know, it's been an honor, brother, to have you on, and I really appreciate you taking out the time to come over here and chill out with us. You know, this was one of my favorite podcasts because I really wanted to get into this. And guys, make sure you go get Jay's book. That link is down in the description. Go check out his website. Link is also in the description. And he's on YouTube. He's on, guys, follow him on Instagram. It's just JayDreamerZ on Instagram, right?
I think so. It's just JayDreamerZ spelled with the Z at the end. Should be
right.
linked to everything.
Yeah, well, you guys, I'll make sure there's a link in it to his Instagram, and really just follow on my Instagram, look in the stories. I'll make sure I share a couple of his videos to my stories, and you know, that way you guys can follow his page, because I see you started a Rumble too, Jay. I'll try to help you get that
kind of like a
jumping as
backup.
well. No, that's smart. Donut recently had one of his whole channels purged, dude, and it was his channel. It was this channel that he had all of his Patreon videos loaded through, so it really messed that up. But he now what he does is he uses Rumble to put his Patreon videos there, because Rumble they're not gonna take them down. And anybody got any questions for Brother Jay before we go? I didn't even realize the time. It did slip
just
by.
one question. On your website, the subscription, does that have extra content?
Yeah, it totally does. So like I made it so that all the main tabs are all free, and then usually, like, you know, maybe the second one or the third one after that can also be accessed by the public. But whenever you join in and you start a subscription, or you become a member or whatever, then you get access to a lot of other stuff. So for example, one of the things that subscribers get, which is really cool, that I'm almost done working on, is my esoteric library. I was given a over 10,000 volume library of all esoteric and arcane material from yesteryear. And, you know, it's got maps and something that a lot of people enjoy is all of Tesla's patents are in there. And this is all stuff that you can download if you're a member. So you get access to little benefits like that, you know, as well as all of the extra content in my Ancient Oblivion tab and all the extra stuff that's in the Plasma Apocalypse as well. And I'm coming back to the website because I've been working on some other stuff and other projects right now. But my next thing on the website is to finish up the esoteric library so that people can have access to that, and it's searchable too. So once I'm done with it, people will be able to search, like, you know, I don't know, you could type in Anunnaki or, you know, whatever type of word you're looking for, and it'll pull up every single PDF. You can pull it up and read it online right there, or you can just download it to keep it forever. And that's available to anyone that purchases a membership to the website, which there's monthly and yearly options or whatever. And then once I'm done, like, I've got different projects I'm working on. Once I'm done with my second book that I'm writing right now, which is Return to Hyperborea, which is going to lead into the third book in the series, which will be about the hollow recesses of the world. But once I'm done with that, then I'm going to start adding more to my website. I want my website to be like a library in and of itself, and a collection that's very engaging, you know, it's lots of visual examples, because I'm a visual person. So I like all these concepts that I talk about to be backed up with fun and interesting, you know, sort of comic book style, cartoon looking, like, visuals and sounds and audios, like that strange sky sound that's heard around the world, the hum or whatever people refer to it as, you know. I've got lots of different examples of that in the Plasma Apocalypse section. You can click on them and listen, and I give them all nicknames and stuff like that. So it's really cool. It's an interactive website, and it's something that I'm always adding to.
Yeah, you make it very fun. I love your website and the way you do it. And, you know, I just got a message to all the content creators out there. Guys, look, we need to be working together. and coming together to put out good content for our people, not taking shots at each other and all that. You know, there's a lot of people fighting right now in the content community, and it's just we need to be focused on positivity and coming together. That's my main message. And StreamYard now has this thing, guys, where you can you can collaborate with people, Jay. So it's a feature on there where you know what I'm talking about, Paranoid American. Doenut, did you ever get it yet?
Oh, I haven't. I gotta log out and log back in. I've been working on a big documentary.
Yeah, your worms, which you could, hey, at least you got a little piece from JayDreamerZ on the worms that you could throw in there too. But yeah, Jay, we just
I
want
look
to
forward
thank
to hearing that one. That sounds really cool. I totally subscribed.
Yeah, we thank you for coming, brother, and hopefully we'll do a lot more stuff together because I definitely love your work, man, and I just thank you for taking the time out and coming over here.
Yeah, thank you, man. And we got to connect on the trading card idea. I love that idea so much.
Yes, for sure.
Well, we got a group on Instagram, Jay. I'll add you to it.
Okay.
It's like me, Doenut, Paranoid. They're all the good
Sweet.
content creators that are. It's like we call it the Truth Mafia. So you know,
let's do it. I'm all about it. I got so many good ideas for that stuff too, and I could see you're super getting stoked. Paranoid Americans, like, I got ideas already.
Oh, I love your website's like a comic book, man. So I just know that we're gonna come up with something cool.
Yeah, it'll be super chill. And I also started this group, Doenut. I don't know if you've seen. I started a group for what's that called? WhatsApp, to where actually our fans can comment in there too, so we can get their perspective on things. And guys, if you want to join that, it's on Tommy Truthful 369. So you just click. You'll see I shared the link last night. And if the notifications go off too much, you can always mute them and then just check back in. You know, it's pretty cool though. That way we can hear our fans' perspective, what they want to see from us, and stuff like that. But does anyone got anything to say before we go?
I'll say thank you. It's good to meet all of you guys. I got really good energy from everybody, and it's an honor that I was invited to, come and be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you too, Jay. Doenut, you gonna do your famous wave?
Oh, I'm waving.
We're out, guys.